So I wanted to play through the Batman Arkham Trilogy for the first time, and the first game is Arkham Asylum, so I just got finished playing through that. It took me about 4 game sessions of 3 hours on average, so it took me about 12 hours to complete it, and I thought it was a great game. But I think in 2025, it's really important to put everything in the context of the trilogy and on whether the gameplay or the game in general is outdated or not, and whether it's still worth it to play in 2025. Because I think almost everyone that picked up this game are planning to play it just because of the trilogy. And I'll get to that in a second, but first, I think let's talk about whether it's outdated or not. So, from my perspective, honestly, in the last decade, I haven't played too many games besides League of Legends, lol. But I did notice, for example, the running mechanic in here, like you have to run with X, because I played this on a controller, right, on the PlayStation controller, and you have to run with X or A on Xbox. So basically, your face button's the bottom one, and you have to like hold that down to run. So if you want to like run and also like move the camera and like basically move both the analog sticks, you pretty much have to play in claw while you're running. And I'm hoping that they fix that in Arkham City and Arkham Knight, because I'm pretty sure the standard, I mean, I played Call of Duty back in the day, and the standard was just like, your L3 or just like pressing down one of your analog sticks is like the sprinting. So I'm hoping they at least have some sort of controller configuration or some way to not be forced to play claw if you want to like sprint and move the camera and move like basically both the analog sticks at the same time. And then the only other thing is I do remember after I finished Arkham Origins about 10 years ago, I tried out Arkham Asylum for about like 10 to 20 minutes, and then in like the first battle area, I like almost immediately gave up on the game because I remember thinking like, wow, the combat feels kind of like worse and clunkier than Origins. So that's like a core memory for me, which, I'm gonna trust my memory on that, but I can't 100% confirm. Um, and that's if you're planning to, for some reason, leave Arkham Asylum last and then play everything else before that, you're probably gonna not be too interested in playing Arkham Asylum because the gameplay is gonna feel a bit worse and a bit less fleshed out than the more recent games. Now, in terms of everything else, like the visuals, the story, all the things you can do on the map, I actually really enjoyed this game. I definitely thought I got my money's worth. I mean, I got this on a deal. I feel like everyone gets this on a deal. The whole Arkham trilogy for like $10 to $7 or something. And I'm always impressed. I feel like maybe, I don't know, maybe it was this older era of gaming where it always impresses me seeing how much content games have, and you can really feel the passion that the game developers put into the game. It's like they poured their heart and soul into everything just to come together and create the greatest game that they can at the time with the resources that they have. So for example, in this game you have the Riddler Trophies, and you also have like his challenges or riddles. There's like two separate Riddler type content. It's not part of the main story, but it's kind of like extra side content. And you also have the audio tapes that you can collect around the map, which are like hidden, or you like have to go out and look for them. And those were like really immersive. I actually love those audio tapes. Basically, for every Batman enemy that you can think of, they have like each of them has 5 or 6 interview tapes, and it's basically a recording of a psychiatrist or some type of doctor um, interviewing that specific Batman villain. And so you might get like, for example, for the Joker, you might get like, oh, Joker interview tape number 1, and then the next one is like interview tape number 33, and then the next one's like interview tape number 44. And so you're kind of like jumping through bits of time, and you like try and piece or put together like part of lore, part of like extra story, and it was really immersive, and I felt like it was very like satisfying to like just sit there and just listen to the interview. It was like, wow, there's like all this extra story for me.
Anyway, I thought it would be good to talk about your childhood.
Oh, ever heard of romance, Doc? I don't give up the goods for free. You'll have to try harder.
What are you hiding?
Didn't you hear me? You scratch my back, Doc, and, well, I won't have you wrapped in plastic and left in a gutter.
And it was for each villain, which was also crazy. Because I never stopped to think about, like, how many villains does Batman have? And even if it's just, like, the main villains, I never realized that Batman has, like, 8 main villains or some shit. Like, the number is incredibly high. And I don't know if this game includes them all, but it probably includes, like, most of them or 99% of them, because there's like 30 of them or something, and each of them have, like I said, interview tapes and lore and extra kind of like character bios that you can stop and read. So like I said, there's just so much content packed into the game that you could really appreciate. There were also audio tapes for, I don't even know what they were, but it was something about Arkham, like the founder of Arkham or something. I didn't really understand. But it's the audio tapes of some type of founder for something Arkham. And honestly, those were very boring to me, but I can see like maybe some people that are more into it appreciating them.
I am the spirit of Amadeus Arkham. Through my actions, I have saved this cursed city, though my own curse is to forever remain in the shadows.
But for me, what I really enjoyed was those interview audios of the villains that kind of enhanced the whole lore and the story. And like I mentioned before, you also have the Riddler Trophies, which it's kind of like you see them throughout the map and they're kind of like teasing you, you know, through a fence, or like they're really far away on a high spot and you don't know how to get there. And so your job while you're playing is like, do you want to either spend time to try and figure out how the hell you're going to get up there and how you're going to retrieve that trophy, or are you just going to like speed run the game and completely ignore the trophy? And for me, I kind of did like an in-between. I'd say I mean, every time I saw a trophy, I tried to get it. I don't think I ever like didn't get a trophy that I saw, but sometimes you couldn't, you literally could not get it at the time, because as you progress through the story mode, you unlock different equipment, and there are some trophies that you'll see that you cannot reach because you need to get to a certain point in the story mode so that you can unlock the equipment to be able to get like the back claw or whatever to like go down a straight line and like a zip line to be able to get that trophy. And this did kind of bother me a bit, to be honest, because sometimes you spend a little too long trying to get one of those trophies, and then later on you figure out that you could never actually get it until you got to like a later stage in the story where you unlocked more equipment that allows you to actually get up there and get the trophy. The main highlight of the game for me, the thing I loved the most, was every single Scarecrow encounter. I thought that was a complete masterpiece. How the visuals change while you're in the middle of something, and how it takes you to that Scarecrow world, and how the visuals look there. I thought that was like 10 out of 10. It was incredibly well done. I was so surprised that, you know, this game, I don't know when it was released. I think it was like 2007, but the fact that they were able to like put this in this game, and it just like completely takes you out of the current gameplay and puts you in like, literally changes the gameplay elements as you're being like transported into the Scarecrow world. I don't want to like spoil everything because I don't know, you know, how many people are gonna want to play this game, so I'm not gonna spoil anything, but how things transform and change while you're on that transition phase to the Scarecrow world, wow, that was like mwah, chef's kiss, 10 out of 10. It was incredibly impressive, and it makes me really excited to see what they do in the next Arkham games, because I've heard great things about City and Night, and I haven't heard anything about Asylum, so I'm assuming City and Night are way better. And I can't imagine like how much more next level they take it, but I'm excited to see what they do. But definitely like hats off to the entire team that created this game, just for those, I mean for everything, but you know, all the content in the game and the interview tapes and all that stuff, but the Scarecrow world stuff, that was like, wow, absolute cinema. Kind of on a similar note, I really like when you die and like you get a little kind of like mini cutscene. It's actually not even a cutscene. It's like a, I don't know what you would call it, but yeah, it's like a semi cutscene, semi like game villain model, kind of like shit talking you right after you die. So if you die to like the Joker will show up and shit talk you, and depending on like who you die to, like a different villain will come out and shit talk you. And sometimes, I think sometimes it was like closely related to like the specific part of the story that you died in. You also get like a text tip when you die about what you can do differently to maybe win the encounter that you just died at.
Oh, I'd like to thank my fans for their undying support.
And I think one of the last things I have to say before we wrap this up is I did get stuck at like 2 different points where I was stuck for like 40 minutes or so. I don't know how long, but I think it was like 40 minutes on like 2 separate occasions where I just couldn't find like where to go next or what to do to progress. The first one is like in the first third of the story mode, and I think it's kind of tricky. It's a bit not 100% intuitive. And then the second one, it was just about like, I mean, later on I understood, okay, like if I don't know where to go, like, okay, look like in front of you, left, right, and then like up, down, because sometimes there's stuff like above you, sometimes there's things below you. And so you might miss like a vent that is like super high up in like a really strange, unexpected spot. Or you might not know whether you're supposed to like kill a certain someone in a certain situation. So I ended up like, after being stuck for like 40 minutes and feeling like a kid, and I didn't know if it was like, is it actually a skill issue there? Or is it a slight problem with how they made the game? I'm gonna err on the side of skill issue on my end, but I can see how other people would also have that skill issue. But it was just 2 different times, and I just went up to YouTube after like the 40 minutes and then saw how people were like getting through that part of the gameplay. As far as the story goes, I don't want to spoil anything, but you're basically fighting all the villains in Arkham Asylum, and yeah, you got like kind of a semi-open map. It's not like an open world, but it's like a semi-open. You can go to like different locations, fight like different enemies possessed by different things or not possessed, and you have like 4 or 5 different buildings, and then sometimes you got to go to building A, so that depending on where the story wants you to go, you're gonna have to go to a different building, and depending on where the story wants you to go, some sections might be cut off or you might unlock different sections. And I think I said this before also, but you also unlock different equipment as you progress through the story, so that also gives you access to more locations or different ways to access different locations, some of which wouldn't be available without the equipment. I think the main thing about the story though is that you get to fight pretty much every Batman villain you can think of. I'm not like super into Batman. I've watched like all the movies in the since the year 2000, so I don't know like literally every single villain, but they got a shitload of villains in here, and I guarantee you all the main ones. I don't know how many main villains there are, but it feels like there's like 7 or 8, which is crazy, but you get to fight like literally all of them. And I think that was really, really cool how they were able to like literally let you fight every single villain and create a whole like scene and setup for you to fight every single villain. One other thing that I really liked is that sometimes in some of these type of games, it feels like maybe it's too arcadey to the point where like the story and the mission gameplay is kind of disconnected. And like you'd imagine like a racing game where, because some racing games do have like strong ties with the story, but a good example would be a racing game where you're just kind of like going race to race, and then the story is kind of like a separate thing. So I mean, the races will be part of the story, but like they might not be too integrated with one another, so it might feel like you're just like racing and then seeing a story in between, but Arkham Asylum I think did a good job at like every mission feels immersive in the story, and sometimes there's different requirements to clear a mission. Like sometimes you can't be detected throughout the whole thing in order for you to clear that mission, or else they're going to kill some civilians, and we don't want that, right? And if you get detected, you're literally gonna see them kill the civilians in front of you. Which is crazy, but it's like, it's well integrated, you know, like the gameplay to the story. So I think that was well done. Okay, so now we have to wrap it up and put our conclusion. And this is gonna feel like one of those things where I rate something really highly, like talk it up, say all these beautiful things, and then rate it low. And it's because I think it might be, and I'll tell you why. Throughout a big part of me playing this game, as much as I enjoyed it, I did not want to spend too much time on it. You know, like unlocking every single interview tape and appreciating every single piece of content that it had available and reading every single piece of bio and all these things. Because although it had so much content, I know that in 2025 we have access to Arkham City and Arkham Knight. So in terms of a money investment, of course it is way worth it. You know, within the first few hours you completely get your money's worth. But in terms of time investment, I don't know if it's completely necessary for you to play Arkham Asylum, or whether you can just jump straight into Arkham City and Arkham Knight. Because I know some of us might only have like a couple hours to play, depending on the day. And so you're basically making the decision whether you want to spend like a week where some days you're playing Arkham Asylum and some days you're just resting or doing whatever. But it's basically going to take you like about a week to play Arkham Asylum. It took me 12 hours, but like I said, if it's like 4 game sessions of 3 hours and you're playing 4 days out of the 7, in this situation where you are hyper valuing your time, I suspect, because like I said, I haven't played Arkham City or Arkham Knight, but I suspect that it might be potentially better to just jump straight into Arkham City or Arkham Knight. And it's made in a very, again, I don't want to spoil things, but like it's kind of like in a comic fashion. Like I think you might not miss anything if you just jump straight into Arkham City as your first game and then just play Arkham Knight after. This is something I really wanted to share because, like I said, I had this experience where I was sometimes thinking like, hey, I don't want to spend too much time on this game because, you know, what I really want to get to is Arkham Knight and Arkham City, because I've heard wonderful things about those 2 games. And I know they came out later, so they're gonna be like improved versions of Arkham Asylum. And like I said at the start, I think it's really important to put this game in the context of the trilogy, because almost everyone that's playing this game is playing it because they saw a massive discount on the Batman Arkham Trilogy, like I did, and like everyone else did. And then we just picked up the whole trilogy and we want to play through the games. To wrap up the video, I think around the time of release, Batman Arkham Asylum was a great, wonderful game, and it would have got a 9 out of 10 for me. But putting it in the context of 2025, where we have access to Arkham City and Arkham Knight, which I have not yet played, but I have heard wonderful things about, I think in terms of time investment, it might just be better to skip Arkham Asylum and go straight into City and Knight. So because of that, my 9.0 rating would go down to like a 7 out of 10 in 2025. Just because I think your time is probably better spent on those other games. I know some of you might call me crazy or be like, you know, how could you know if you haven't played them? But I'm the type of person that likes to go off of intuition and trusting my instincts and my feelings. But I'll definitely come back after I complete the trilogy, and I'll write in the comments down below whether I recommend you skip this game or whether I recommend you don't skip this game, so that you can get an after or before of, you know, once I finish the trilogy, do I still recommend that you skip this or do I not recommend it? Anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. This is my first like game impressions video or game semi-review. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like, or let me know what you think in the comments down below. And yeah, I'll see you on the next one. Peace.